Stibbs.
Just make sure it sounds sexy, Stibbs.
Lord Almighty, how can you stand Arizona? Your fair skin must be burning down into your absent soul. Mike, 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 we can barely hear you. It sounds to me like you called us from inside a hole. But your phone calls lift me higher, like the ERA of Mark Pryor. Your hair looks like it's on fire. You're Mike Ferrin.
It's
just a hunker.
Playoff Mike Ferrin, and as you can see, in the spirit of hockey, which just ended, Ferrin's got his playoff beard.
Looking good, man.
Very nice.
That's my wife's request always, to have the playoff beard on, because she doesn't like the look of my face.
Your volume's very low, Mike. Is everything okay?
We can literally barely hear you.
Hang on.
It's like the old days with the phone.
Now.
Yeah, it's still better in his phone, though.
Better? Is that better?
There you are.
Hey!
Setting. I was saying that my wife only makes me wear the playoff beard because she can't stand my face otherwise. So
Understandable.
it's true. She's like, you should keep the beard. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to. No. 115 degrees in Phoenix. I've got a beard because my wife likes it.
Well, hey, at least
Happy
she likes
wife,
something
happy
about
life.
you. She likes something about you, and that's a bonus.
Yes, that's fine. So what's going on, guys? I hear there's baseball.
We got playoff baseball. I mean, we got the Sox up 1-0. We got the Twins up 1-0. Is there an upset besides the Dodgers losing that you would classify as an upset in this first round?
Well, I think, if Toronto were to beat Tampa Bay, I think that would be a pretty significant upset personally. I think that's Toronto's got a really exciting young team, but they are really bad defensively and they don't run the bases particularly well. And I think those are the things that can lose you, 3-game series. So, Tampa Bay is more fundamentally sound. So yeah, I think that would be one that I would say would be a pretty significant upset. I think if the Cardinals beat the Padres, I think that's a pretty significant upset. I think, as good a story as it is in the Cardinals overcoming what they did for those couple of weeks, having most of their roster sidelined because of COVID or contact tracing, I think they're prohibitive underdogs to the Padres. So I think it's really, I think that they're really a very big underdog.
Mike, I was thinking about this last night, and there, I think, are two franchises, I guess 3 if you want to throw Cleveland in, but there are a few that really would get a nice historical bump if they were able to win a World Series. And the first two that came to my mind were the A's and the Dodgers, because if you kind of look at the last 2+ decades, there's this nice overlap of a lot of success with both of those franchises. Which of those two, and I guess let's throw in Cleveland as well because of their, streak of not winning one, which would get the biggest bump historically, not only from winning, but also doing so in such a strange year?
That's an interesting way to phrase it, because I haven't heard anybody suggest that that's the case. I think that there's a fear among most fan bases, because we're not allowed to have anything nice anymore, that everybody is going to look at this championship as being tainted somehow, right? Because it happened in a 60-game season. Never mind that we've added this. I don't want to undersell the extreme amount of difficulty that goes into playing a 3-game series to open the postseason. This is do or die for your season in a type of series that over the course of the regular year, it's nothing to see the worst team, a team with a 300 winning percentage win a series from a team with a 600 winning percentage. So I think the degree of difficulty this year is far greater. I think, in terms of championships, I think Cleveland gets the biggest bump, potentially because of what they've done, or even the Padres because they've never won one, or maybe less the Rays because they haven't been there, or they've been in the playoffs a lot, and it's been 12 years since they've been in the World Series. So maybe it's a little bit less for them, but I definitely think for Cleveland it would be big. For the Dodgers, if they don't win, it's just, it's just another Another missed opportunity. It starts to feel a little bit like the Braves of the 90s, right? Where they, were in the World Series every year or in the playoffs every year and only won one championship. I mean, that's kind of the way it feels with the Dodgers. But I also think that to look at it that way is also to ignore the degree of difficulty that we have in the postseason now with all of the extra rounds compared to what we had in the 1950s when it was just two teams and, the Yankees basically owned baseball at that point.
Do I dare suggest that if the Dodgers don't get it done this year, that Dave Roberts is going to be replaced?
Somebody else asked me that question last week, John, and I think it's a fair question to consider, but I just don't think it's in the MO of their front office to go running from him. And I actually think Doc's a pretty good manager. I think he has done a good job with some underwhelming bullpens. I think he has a good idea of how to use guys in leverage situations. I think maybe last year in particular, he was maybe a little bit too nostalgic on the performances of Kershaw and Jansen. And, they have better arms around Jansen now. But maybe that could be a potential slip up. I would watch that because I don't think Kenley has looked great this season comparatively, whereas Kershaw has been unbelievable. So I'm not sure that you necessarily do that. I do think that their front office understands that the randomness of what happens in the playoffs is something that can't always be controlled. I mean, there's a really famous chapter in Baseball Between the Numbers, which was the second Baseball Prospectus book talking about, the statistical era. And one of it is, why does Billy Bean's, not work in the playoffs? So and basically what it was is it's blind luck in a lot of respects in the postseason. And so I don't know that it's necessarily fair to remove Doc from that situation because of it, because I do think he's a good manager.
Mike, last night I was reading Ken Rosenthal's story from The Athletic about just kind of this postseason and some of the concerns, whether it's, things going into next season, a lopsided World Series. One of the concerns, though, that executives, I guess, have warned him or others in baseball about was teams punting on playoff games where they get down. They don't want to use their arms because there's just no days off. How big of a concern is that for you, just as a fan of the sport? Do you think that that's going to happen on a regular basis?
I mean, I think that happens anyway in the playoffs if you have a blowout. I mean, that's why you carry, they're going to have 28-man rosters, right? And I would assume that when we get to the next round, the division series and the league championship series, because there's no off days in it, that you're and no real off days or no significant off days between them, that you're going to see teams carrying 15 pitchers. So they're going to have pitchers to cover those innings. So your fifth starter might be the long man, or you're going to carry somebody that can give you some length. So yeah, I mean, you may have to punt it. I don't necessarily look at that like it's a bug so much as it's a feature of this postseason because of the way the schedule works, specifically in the division series and the LCS, it should play out more like regular season games because there are no off days. You can't just use, I have less issue with that than the idea of, being able to ride four pitchers to pitch 70% of your innings in the postseason. That to me is it's a completely different game, even more so than the man at second rule in extra innings. You create a completely different game in the playoffs because you give so many extra off days to it. And so in this format, I think you have to play it more straight. And I do think the teams will have plenty of arms to cover those innings. And I don't think it's going to end up, creating an issue for the integrity of the postseason at all. I think what it does is probably tune some people out earlier if it's 13-1 in the fifth, but that could happen in any situation.
See, and I'm not a fan of this format because I don't like all these teams in there, but that's one thing I do like about the format is that there's no days off. And so, and Mike quoted something from last year, you had 4 Nationals pitchers throw 71% of their innings in the postseason. That's insane. Well, you're not going to be able to do that now. And so it's really going to benefit those teams who have a good number 3, number 4, especially even a number 5 starter at this point. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't either. And you're going to start to see some guys going on 3 days rest. I mean, Trevor Bauer wants to pitch on 3 days rest anyway, but if the Reds were to get through, that's not a huge issue for them. But they're going to see some big starters come back on 3 days rest, we're going to see, them get a chance to compete with their season on the line, potentially in a game 5, because there's not going to be any time between it, and their team's going to need them because they're down 3-1 or because they feel like they need to lock down a series at that point. I think that's exciting. And does it put that pitcher at more risk? Probably, because they're going to be a little bit fatigued. But I also want to point out that we don't have the same volume of innings on players that we do normally at this point. And as much as we had the second ramp up with players, and that may have helped to lead to some of the injuries or guys, Trevor May made a really good point in the special that we recorded. He's like, I wonder if guys, part of the injury thing was that they didn't have the adrenaline from the crowd. And so you're trying to throw a little bit harder and you might overdo it. But at this point, you're looking at significantly less wear and tear to this point in the season than what you would normally have at this point. And I think it's probably a little bit easier for pitchers to be able to go on 3 days rest and remain healthy.
Now that we got to this point, Mike, did they make the right decision in going with neutral site games beyond this initial round?
Oh, yeah, I think they should have done it for this round, too. I mean, I think if you really wanted to be safe, that you would have done it for this round as well. So, yeah, I absolutely think it's the right thing to do. I mean, obviously, we're watching, what's changed significantly since they made this decision is we're this much closer to the availability of rapid testing, right? I believe the president just promised 150 million rapid tests that are going to be sent around the country now. And we've been watching, because I think we've talked about this, right? Like over the last month, we've seen that this was coming, right? That these 15 or 30-minute rapid tests were coming. That's a real game changer, I think, for society as a whole, let alone for sports, because you're not feeling well. You pop a rapid test in at home. All of a sudden, whether or not you should leave the house or if you should quarantine for the next couple of weeks, hey, that's a big win for all of us, right? So I think that maybe that could have altered it some, but we're just getting it now, and today's the first day of the playoffs, right? So I absolutely think that they've handled this the right way. I'm curious to see what happens when fans get into the stands, because that's the big holdup for 2021 is knowing, how many fans are going to be able to be there. And we've been watching it happen in the NFL. And to this point, I don't know if you guys have better information on this. You follow it closer than I do. Have we seen an outbreak from fans attending games? I know there were a bunch of people that were quarantined after somebody in a suite in Kansas City got it on opening night, but I haven't seen the information yet to know whether or not there's been a concern of community spread in ballparks with fans.
Well, the NFL there's only been a couple of franchises.
I think it's like 4.
Yeah, that have had fans. Jacksonville has had fans. Kansas City had fans.
Cleveland and Cincinnati
have had fans. So those are the only.
And Dallas,
teams.
never mind. So
and Dallas.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's the Titans news of today, which we'll get to a little bit later, but that's not
players.
related to fans.
Yeah.
And then as far as the college games, most of the college games that we watched and that we have watched the last 3 weeks have all had some smattering of fans, but we haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten, they're not going to have fans at all. So
I mean, I think some of it depends on the reporting of the states. Like, we're never going to learn anything from Florida because they don't apparently want to tell us what's going on there, right? Which is fine. Like, none of us actually really want to know what's going on in Florida anyway. But
fair.
With the rest of the country, with the rest of the contiguous 47, it would be some pretty helpful information. Just like, I think there were a couple of epidemiologists who raised a good point in baseball and like how they mitigated the risk after they had the 2 big outbreaks, right? And how they were able to prevent that from happening again. Like, that's pretty valuable public health data. I would think that that's something that's important because all of us want to get back to living some semblance of real life. I would like to go eat in a restaurant. It's been 6.5 months. Like, I'd like to do that at some point without fearing that I'm going to catch the killer virus.
Was it surprising to you? We're watching this White Sox game right now, and the Sox are up 1-0 in the third, and they've got another scoring threat here. That the Athletics threw Luzardo, a left-hander against the best left-handed hitting lineup in Major League Baseball. There's now 2 out in the third.
I loved what was it, Tim Anderson's line on it, right? It was like apparently they didn't do their homework on us, right? Because they were 14-0 against lefties. Luzardo's a really good pitcher, and I don't know that they have faced a left-hander the quality of Luzardo to this point in the season. So, I don't know that it's necessarily that big a deal. Otherwise, they have so many apparently good right-handed hitters that they've managed to set Edwin Encarnacion, and obviously Eloy Jimenez is out too because of a foot sprain. So, it is interesting. I'm really more curious about the pitching matchup here with Luzardo and Giolito both being changeup specialists. I think it's a really interesting mix. But Luzardo's really good, man. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only run he gives up in, like 5 or 6 innings, and their bullpen's pretty stout.
All right, we need a base hit here so that the Sox get that second run just to prove Mike wrong.
Look at you, Sox fan.
He's
Sox
like
fan.
back when the White Sox won the World Series. He's going to show up wearing a White Sox jersey.
No,
tomorrow.
I'm actually rooting for the Athletics because they have next to the Cubs best looking uniforms in baseball.
They're so good.
Dude, the Kelly Greens are tight. That's the best one.
I know, but it's
yellow.
so,
It pops.
The yellow though. I really love the yellow too.
The yellow jerseys.
Yeah, the yellow jerseys.
Padres, man, the new Padres ones are great too. Like that's the throwback, man.
Look like birds. Sorry, I'll never give the Padres credit for anything.
Hey, the good news is that we get some really unique playoff matchups. Things that haven't happened before, like the Marlins and Cubs playing at Wrigley Field.
God, I hate you. I knew you were going to do this. I hate you.
It's going to be worse when the Marlins come back from down 3-1 or down 1-0 to win the series.
No, what's going to be bad is the game is going to be on tomorrow during this program.
Oh, why didn't you have me on tomorrow?
I was going to ask. Do you want to come on? I was going to ask. Do you want to come on?
Yeah, come on tomorrow, Mike.
Yeah, I'll come on again tomorrow just to be able to watch John's reaction. In fact, just put me on Stibbs TV so I can screen cap John.
I'll just text you.
Could we do a live watch along with John tomorrow?
That means John has to agree because it's got to be his computer facing him, and there's no way he agrees to that.
Oh, come on. The mic will be off during commercials.
I wouldn't if I'm John because of the way he reacts. I've seen him.
I only want the reactions during commercials. I don't want the on-air reactions.
Unfiltered? Oh, those are the best reactions, Mike.
It's going to be awesome when Sandy Alcantara just shoves it for 7 innings.
You wouldn't see anything in his box because
he'll shove it all right.
He just starts pacing. So his box, there'd be nothing in his box,
like
and then you'd see him behind me in my camera just walking randomly back and forth. It'd be pretty hilarious.
By the way, Jose Abreu just went bridge 3-0 at White Sox. So yeah,
I was about to say that you just jinxed. You just jinxed Jesus.
I caught it in the back corner of my shot. I've got it there, and I was like, all of a sudden it looked like I'm like, that's not a left-handed hitter. That's got to be Abreu. I had a grand old.
He's good.
Yeah, he just jacked one out, so it's 3-0 now. White Sox. We'll see. We'll see about this video thing tomorrow.
But content is king, John.
But I can do whatever I want to do, and there's no responsibility. I mean, if I
can you sell it? Like, can we get Stacy on it to sell it real quick? The Bishop Cub Cam.
She's listening right now, so let's see what she says.
Hi, Stacy.
Listen, she'll be catatonic as well. I mean,
yeah, she doesn't want to participate in this.
No. Yeah, but she would rather sell your misery than her own.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, put out the APB. Someone wants to sell Bishop Reaction Cam for tomorrow.
I'll be sitting at my desk, Stib. So if you really feel like there's a big spot and you want me to come in and watch, text me and I'll jump on.
I'll DM you. I'll DM you
here.
Sure, I absolutely will.
We did get the great moment in 2015. Right? And I'm trying to remember.
Bias bitches.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Do we still have the drops?
Who were we? We were interviewing someone.
Probably one of our million Husker guests.
I thought it was an NFL guy from Boston.
Do you guys cover football?
Yeah,
yes,
we've been known to talk about it from time to time.
Yeah, when Baez went deep in Game 4 of the NLDS against the Cardinals, right in the middle of the interview, I just screamed, "Baez, bitches!"
It was great.
And he means screamed it. He screamed it.
I pounded on the table. It was like, oh.
Hey, let me ask you real quick. Are you sad at all about this being the breaking up of the band? Like, this is probably it for this group of Cubs, right? Like, I mean, there's a good chance that Schwarber and Bryant are both non-tendered, and like this is probably the end of the era for this group that finally won a championship and has been to 5 postseasons in 6 years, and yet there's a group of Cub fans that seem to hate them, which is the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, I've been preparing for this. Yeah, I don't expect to see Bryant back next year, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to ship Rizzo out. I really wouldn't.
Nobody's going to take a first baseman. Nobody wants first baseman, especially expensive ones.
I know. I
wonder if Theo would go too. Remember, he left after 9 years in Boston.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends. Will they do it before or after the World Series parade?
If they get a parade, you don't care what they do.
Right.
If they don't get a parade, it makes for a better story.
Well, if they get a parade, it means the pandemic's over.
You know, it's funny because like I'm sure you guys, I'm blowing through spot breaks, but I don't care because Stacy's going to sell Bishop Cub misery reactions tomorrow. Extra income. I'm just making you money.
We'll just replace this picture of Memorial Stadium with the sponsor logo. It'll be great.
So the Astros and Cubs are kind of on their last legs of these groups, right? That this is probably it for both of them. And it's just at the same time that the Padres and White Sox are on the first appearance. I mean, it feels like 2015 for them. And so you wonder if it's okay, is it going to be 2020 to 2025 for those groups? And will there ever be fans in the stands to see those terrific teams?
There better be.
Sorry.
I love it, Mike. I can see the curl on your lips coming up like, oh, he's about to make a joke here.
It's like the French.
All right. Maybe we'll see you again tomorrow. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't, especially if the Marlins have runners in scoring position with nobody out. I will be there. I will be giddy.
Honestly, it might be better to watch when the Cubs have runners in scoring position with no outs before inevitably.
Oh, bases loaded, nobody out. That's the first situation I'm jumping in on because they are the worst bases loaded hitting team in the history.
Really? I had no idea. Oh, that's where you'll get the reaction.
I love John. John in the last 3 minutes has gone from they better wait till after the World Series parade to we have the worst offense in baseball.
Well, we do. I mean, last week notwithstanding, I mean, they suck.
It's going to be awful when Darvish goes out and loses 0 to -1.
If there was ever a team that could do it, it would be this year's Cubs. I guarantee you. All right, Mike, get the hell out of here.
All right, we might see you tomorrow.
Yeah, Mike. Oh, God.
John's not going to sleep tonight.
I'm not going to sleep tonight anyway.
Yeah, good point.
The game starts at 1
o'clock.
So.
Well, the good news is you'll have like a feel of how the game is going.
By the time
I'll already be. Well, I'll either be nervous or in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Nervous because it's either tied or the Cubs are leading, or in a bad mood because they're already down 2-0.
Yeah.
And they're
5-0.
And they're being no hit.
Just 2.
Oh yeah, Darvish will be fine. It's the Cubs a 2-0 deficit. It's impossible for them to come back. I wish I had there's got to be a place you can look this up. They've got to be like the worst team when they fall behind. Because I swear they never come from behind and beat anybody. They have to start well and then hold on. Versus if they fall behind 2-0, it's like I'm texting Kevin. It's over.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's already sent that to you.
Oh yeah, he's already sent.
You haven't sent that message today.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're done. It's over.
There's some good stream of thought commentary in.
I'm sure
in a lot of this. Let's see. What was some of the last ones? This was from last Sunday. Love hearing the MLB Network guys suddenly proclaim that the Cubs offense is fixed. Harold Reynolds is a moron. Kevin, he is a buffoon. The 3 runs in 2 games next week should put the rest to that and that notion to rest. So yeah, we're already in peak negative mood.
I'm stunned.
Perfect. It's like I'm in the College World Series booth again. Feels great.
With less swearing. Well, more swearing probably. All right, 3-0 White Sox and 1-0 Twins. Kenta Maeda just escaped a jam and the bases loaded in the top of the 4th. So Twins hanging on so far on 1620 The Zone.